welcome back, ladies and gents, to the 1v1s. It is me, your host KP, to take you through the highest tiers of Age of Empires 4. But before we get to that, make sure you hit the subscribe button. And after we're done with this, you better go through those extra videos where you can catch more, especially this person, because we love to feature him, because you guys love to watch him. It is, of course, the Viper, returning as China. I haven't seen him do this in a while. This should be cool, especially on King of the Hill. This is one of the maps that I quite enjoy seeing China play, just because they have a lot of flexibility. They can play into the defensive motions around the center of the map where the only sacred site exists. There's also a lot of early raiding potential off the back of stables, and also the Bargain of Sun giving those choke point holds. There's a lot of cool, small kind of micro plays in the grander economy, right, and the grander like strategy of China on this map that makes it quite exciting. And their opponent is going to be Eerie. Eerie playing on the Mongols. Eerie, by the way, for those unaware who haven't been keeping track of him, he's featured a few times on the channel. Currently sitting 68th on the leaderboard, so doing damn well for himself. 1,736 elo rating, only 364 games played. Viper, however, also has his own league to talk of. Viper has fallen a little bit in the last few days. He's gone down to 33rd, 1,798 elo rating with 352 games played. Not really as hard of a grind as you might have expected out of the Snake, but every time we see him, it is, of course, quite the treat, because he has these unique kind of perspectives, these ways to evolve. We just recently had a HRE game that really blew me away. In an HRE matchup, he was in possibly the worst situation imaginable as an HRE player. Involves relics. Not too many spoilers to be alerted for. So go check that one out after this video if you want to just see how this guy is so crafty. Because there are so many games that I watch with him where there's a lot of players I would definitely see just thinking that it was over. There'd be probably negative mental attitude, right? It's almost done. They'll play it out, but they feel like there's not much point. Not Viper. Viper always finds a slivery way to turn these games. So let's see how he's going to do up against Mongols, because it's likely he's going to come under high pressure, and it's likely they're both going to be playing around pro scouts, because remember, especially the stable drop and the double scout production, that's mainly what it's about when you reach feudal. Before that, Eerie does have the option to get aggressive with outpost placements, but he's going to have to be fast. And also, on the side of China, China is just one of those civs that can easily play into pro scouts, courtesy of having a stable, and then just having an Imperial official overseeing production of that building, increasing it by an additional 200% on the build speed. And otherwise, this is not the best spawn for Eerie. His gold vein is so far away. And this was the only wood. Wow. Okay, this... King of the Hill is cursed as usual. I think both players got ripped off in a lot of ways. So, I think Eerie got the better side of the wood. You can actually see this wood line back here if he eventually finds it. This initial one's going to dry up quick. His gold line is very far away. Meanwhile, gold line is a little bit closer for Viper, and his wood line is fairly close, right? In fact, if you had the Mongol in the north here right now, I'd be calling scam, because he'd be able to actually place his TC between the gold vein and the wood line, right? Which would have been fantastic. But yeah, the one worrying issue I have for Viper here is he's got these very small, minuscule tree lines at the back, compared to this side one Eerie has that leads into biggers. And the other detail you have to keep in mind is after he goes through these initial wood lines, it's a very long, like, honest God, I'm just getting out of breath scrolling and thinking about how far villagers have to run for this. It's so far away to get to the next wood lines after you're done with the back of your base. It's really frustrating for Viper. And Viper, you know, he could go for strategies that don't involve much wood, but a lot of the popular ones do, right? You can consider Zhugnu requires some wood, Archer compositions early. If you're going up into that Castle Age rush, you're probably thinking about adding in the siege weapons, which cost a lot of wood, and then also you might want additional military infrastructure, which always costs wood. So if this game does drag out, I'm going to say it's not that great for Viper because of that detail. I think Eerie's going to have much funner time. I think these choke points are easily defendable as well. Like, you can eventually just move your base a little bit to the west if need be, and then you've got these natural choke points, and then you just push up into the center with the step readout. Everything has a more natural flow. Like, if you look at the way that Eerie wants to move, I'm gonna like click on the center of the minimap, and then look at these two sides, and then imagine how their economies are gonna move, right? It's actually cool to kind of map this out in your mind, because it gives you an idea of how things should play out in 5, 10, 15-minute mark. And a lot of these players are strategizing ahead of time like that. You know, these are the best players in the world. It's kind of comparative to when you talk about chess players being 10, 15, 20 moves ahead. So look at the map and tell me where you think each player is going to move. I kind of already given it away, but you can already see, like, for the moment, Viper is moving out this stone line. I kind of expected this, right? You want to have that accessibility, that potential to go into a second TC. But the point is, he's going to push up north into the corner. But then after that, it's bad, right? Because you have to move your wood lines so far away. Food can ripple this way, so maybe you have that double benefactor of moving southwest. But there's going to be a lot of open ground no matter where you are, right? I think there's even a small route into your base here that might catch you off guard if you end up having to wall these areas. Meanwhile, on the other side, Eerie has a much simpler time, right? He'll start with this wonky gold, but after that, he just pushes left. He moves all of his economy, his military, all of his influence towards this, right? You've got, like, even if you didn't play the pro scouts, it would have been amazing due to the deer placements to begin with, which are absurd, by the way. But then you've got this natural wood line, huge chunks of wood that you continue into, which, by the way, compared to Vipers, once again, are so much better, right? There's so much more here for you. And then you push into these choke points where the gold is and where another Uvu placement is. It just all speaks to me as an Eerie favored map right now. This is definitely better for the Mongols than it is for China. And speaking of that, Mongol player has already gone into Horsemen. These are the early Horsemen, though, so they are extra crap tier compared to the normie ones. Remember that you have more damage, more health once you upgrade them. That's one of the balance factors of Mongols. I think some people forget about this when they talk about like these civs that have access to X or Y unit early. It can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse in disguise because it means that you have more techs you have to pay for. But it's not the paying that's the big problem. It's the interruption in your production, right? Think about how often we've seen someone reach this castle age, they have to push out all these man-at-arms, and they were HRE players, they had access to man-at-arms before. But they don't have the infrastructure to allow them to stop for that tech because they need to get an army out now. So instead of ever going up into proper man-at-arms, they still have early man-at-arms in the big fight that decides the game. These are the type of knock-on effects that can really hurt players. It's especially why transitions feel very uncomfortable as the game goes on, right? Think about going up in Imperial Age and being forced into a transition then, and say you were England, right? And you had to go to man-at-arms, and you've never done man-at-arms, so you have Vanguard man-at-arms. Good God, it's a nightmare, right? And these details can actually hurt you a lot, especially if you haven't scaled a lot in the Castle Age. Say the Castle Age lasts a long time, usually you have a lot of military infrastructure, it's not as bad. But if you're like an Imperial Age Russia, that's where you can really suffer. So a little bit of raiding coming out, back and forth. Eerie. A little bit under pressure for Viper. I like this move actually coming out from him. I don't know why I said, I got confused by colors. Ignore me about the Horseman point, guys. I just realized. Blue Mongol, me got confused though. We'll say I'm colorblind. And someone's going to tell me that's not how colorblind works. But yeah, so actually was the Horseman coming out from Viper early. He can afford this as well, courtesy of just, you know, dropping off more food, right? With the overseeing of the Imperial official. Also going for the Song Dynasty. Remember, he also gathered up some stone. So I think, yeah, second TC being dropped right next to it. This is very tamed, right? This is very disciplined from Viper. A lot of players would be a little bit more aggressive, greedy. They might stick the TC next to like the food or the stone, right? They'll look for that double value. But instead, Viper understands that he could easily come under pressure up against a raiding civ like the Mongols. He doesn't want to leave any loose ends around his base that not only could be picked off, but then give resources back to the Mongol war economy, or war machine rather, when they burn the buildings down and get 50 food and gold per building. Oh, there we go. So Pro Scouts at work is going to start collecting over here. Pro Scouts has not been researched at all by Viper. This is a very disciplined choice as well. A lot of players would have just blindly went into the Pro Scouts. But I think from his perspective, he feels outnumbered. Like when he moved across and he saw that his opponent has double the amount of scouts already, and he sees that this layout here is very favorable to Eerie, there's no point, right? Because at best, at absolute best, you're going to draw even in terms of carcass count. Worst case scenario, your opponent's going to snatch a lot more away from you because you're a little bit more split, right? Your economy is going to be more dispersed in terms of gathering up these initial deer. What you will have is a booming economy in the coming minutes. Secondary TC complete. Count is already free in your favor. And remember, with the Song Dynasty now functional, it only takes 13 seconds to produce any of these villages. So, nice little juicy booster there. And it does mean that if you're Eerie, you're going to have to start applying pressure soon. Your economy isn't going to scale that well. Like I said, this generation is really generous for the Mongol player. But you have to do something with it sooner rather than later. And that's why he builds up a force. Archers and spearmen moving in. Pretty basic, pretty standard, though, for this Civ. There could be a counter coming out, keep in mind. If Viper drops in archery range and builds Yugnu, he destroys everything you're doing. I say that. The Horsemen might be a little bit problematic, but there's not many of them right now. A bit weird out of Viper. Actually choosing to engage with a Wolf there. You're not playing against who's players here, buddy. It doesn't matter. Interesting choice by Viper. He got Forestry. A lot of players don't do this. I think the number's been done on this, and it's very hard to justify. It's not costly. It just doesn't really give you that much in the grand scheme of things. I think that's why Viper sees it as a throwaway easy tech. Like, it's so cheap that if it allows you to get through these tree lines a little bit quicker, you'll make it up in the coming minutes. But I remember, like, discussing this with some people. Someone actually gave me some numbers. They tested themselves in detail, and it barely changed anything. In terms of your gathering rates per minute, it was so negligible that you're probably talking like 30 minutes in before it feels like you've recouped it. Now, of course, that can vary depending on like the scalability of your wood line, but it still feels like it's just inconsequential enough. It's not going to hurt your economy to get, but it's probably not going to boost your economy either. This, on the other hand, will. Wheelbarrows being the choice is fantastic. Hasn't been picked up by Eerie. Big mistake there. Wheelbarrows is fantastic. Also, especially if you're playing a Civ that builds multi-TCs, you should be getting wheelbarrows. I see too many times these players with free TCs just not having wheelbarrows at all. It's a fantastic tech. It's damn great bang for buck. And you know what? If you need reasons to do it, the Muslim is #1 in the world right now. I talked to this guy on his stream. I've typed in his chat about him, asking about it. He thinks it's one of the best researchers in the game. He always gets it. Every single game, he ends up getting wheelbarrow. Eerie hoping to carry Viper home, not in a wheelbarrow, but in a coffin here. Second battering ram going up. He's sneaking this as well. It's on the high ground, so no vision right now for Viper. But look. We said this is going to be the thing. You're in the feudal age, right? If you're worried the Mongol player is going to attack, the only thing that he's going to attack you with, everything that he can attack you with, is going to be countered by Zhugnu. Yes, he can build some horsemen, but horsemen are not great at diving. Not with double TC here. They will just get ripped apart. And there's only 2 of them. And that's the mistake. Eerie, he didn't get the vision, right? I think he's still trying to sneak in and get eyeballs on. He finally wraps around the back with a small horseman force, but he's matched. He's chased. And he cannot stay on top of the villagers. And even if he did, they're replaced so quickly, it's irrelevant. Here we go. Baron Rams moving in on the left side. Zhugnu trying to wrap on the right to snipe out a few of these horsemen. Not able to get in position, though. And they will need to double back towards where the Rams are right now. Instead, he continues to chase away. He's outnumbered here, so this could actually backfire very quickly for Viper if he's not careful. And the Zhugnu, there are a lot of them now, so Viper is going to move across. He actually needs to get some people to burn these Rams down. He'll let the village fall, but after that, I expect him to actually commit forces to burn it. And I believe the count is actually even. In terms of the size of their force right now, like, count the spearmen and archers together, there's more Zhugnu. Speaking of Zhugnu, first attacks coming out. They're fairly effective against battering rams when you think about it. You're going to do 1 damage regardless, no matter what range unit you're shooting with, right? So might as well shoot and burst. This is one of those situations where burst attack units are better. CC down to half HP. Viper, this is dangerous. Like, sacrificing it this early. You can replace the TC, sure, but it's still going to be a hit into your scalability, right? And it is on fire now. And he ends up just garrisoning the TC with all the Zhugnu, forces his opponent away, but that town center is gone. But still, no response just yet. He's finally moving the rest of the Zhugnu across. Needs to just address this right now. Third battering ram now going up for Eerie. Shots in, battering rams retreating away. Look how quickly it's getting shredded through. For a ranged unit, this is impressive. Keep in mind, it's very hard to stick on top of your targets, though. The Zhugnu are very slow. That's 1 battering ram just gone. If he gets 2, he basically pays back what like the TC loss was, more or less, right? Because it's 400 wood, 300 stun. And he'll be able to keep chasing them. Remember, 0.75 compared to the 1.12. So they're able to actually keep gap closing. And it looks like they're being sacrificed. Eerie can't defend them, right? And this is frustrating. You wouldn't have minded at 2 of these rams, but you invested in a 3rd. It just makes it a very ineffective trade for you. The only way this works out is if you get horsemen across now and you stab them while they're stuck in the middle of the field. I just don't think that's going to happen. And I like the way that Viper doesn't chase down with everything. He splits off into 2 groups. And even with just 22, 22 is enough that if you engaged with this main army of Eerie, it would be probably still a favorable trade for Viper. The horsemen might be the difference maker, actually. 5 of them now on the front. And that 1 battering ram's going to be left alone. He needs to get the troops back to base. Like I said, they move very slow. Just a few Zhugnu are currently in position. Viper, he sees this now. Backs away. Eerie chasing in. Villagers on the front. Imperial official as well. Might bait them in. They use the rate of fire arrow. He uses it too early, though. He's not in range. Eerie, this is a complete misplay. And now he's in trouble. He's going to be gap closed upon. Loses a lot of troops initially. Almost loses the Khan. Backs up for the moment, but has to keep retreating. And this is the problem. He doesn't have the Deer Stone. He did move up to the front, so he is suffering very quickly. Every time he formation shuffles, he gets picked off a little bit more. And Eerie, ready for his tech up. Viper not. Eerie will now begin it. The Viper chasing out again. You don't even have to keep building Zhuge Nu. This should be the moment where Viper starts to transition himself and look to boost up, right? He's got so many Zhuge Nu that his army isn't going to get wiped anymore. So he needs to prioritize the tech up himself. It does hurt the way he lost that TC already, but at least he got a lot of value out of it, right? It's 70 compared to the 49 eco. So even with an advantage on the tech up for Eerie, Viper should still be able to catch up, but he's going to have to stop producing units now because it's actually hurting him. These Zhuge Nu, there's just so many of them. More like Zhuge Oh Nu. I mean, maybe that's why they called them Zhuge Nu, because you just yell Nu at the top of your voice whenever you get attacked by them, because that's what it feels like right now. Just pleading for the life. Please stop attacking us. Viper. He's going to non-stop flop his way to the top, charging on through, and now because you have to keep retreating, you can't turn around. It means the horsemen are going to pick you off as you run. If you ever turn to stab them, the Zhuge Nu are going to tear you a new one. An outpost going down, trying to defend himself. Finally, this is what he needed. He needed to be back here. He needed the Yam movement speed. This was missing the whole time, and it's something that we didn't get a chance to talk about because something was happening. But the fact that you pushed this far forward and didn't sacrifice a single villager to set up a outpost network is exactly why you're not comfortable with this castle age now. You reach it, but you can notice Viper's already on his way there, and he has a bigger economy right now. Even with the step readout advantage, it doesn't feel good. You also have this situation now where, look, with Viper being so close to your base, what does he do? He starts to build into rams. He says, anything you can do, I can do better, my friend. He does have to be a little bit careful, though, because this time he's going to be up against Lancers. However, those Lancers do build very slowly. And there we go, tech up complete. And I expect him to upgrade the Zhuge Nu. Wait, what? He's upgrading archers. I think this is a misclick. I hope it's a misclick. Wow, what's the step readout doing here? Hello? A little bit drunk. Trying to actually get the value off the gold vein, not able to do so. Yeah, this was not intended. He accidentally researched the archers instead. That's a big whoopsie right there. Missed opportunity to actually boost so much of your damage. But look at this, dude! No! The step readout! Eerie! The green! Oh my god! That is a game-losing play right there. He tries to get the step readout in location. He gets caught out. He gets overran, and he doesn't move it away quick enough. It's gone. And his scalability alongside it, he needed that. He needed to get more Lancers. This is not good enough. Only 6 of them. And he's going to be forced to fight soon. He tries to move across to a new gold line, but look, a small contingent on the flank. Viper looking to harass the economy while the main line holds. And these Lancers, one by one riding in like this, will die very quickly. Especially when they're slowed by moving at the same speed as the infantry. And look at it, they waste so much time in the background. The damage being done! Viper is just turning the Mongol army into pincushions here, and it will force a GG. Death by 1,000 pricks gives Viper the win.